Okay, it is March 17th, 2026. This is the monthly meeting of Hardwick Electric Department. All the commissioners are present, as is Renee DiGregorio. I have a question about your last name, ma'am.
Okay.
And Scott Johnson. And we have at least two people from the public here. I forget your name. It's
Will
Marley here.
Will Marley.
Yep.
And on the screen,
I think it was Dana Allen, is that right?
And he has the longest acronym for his organization.
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
There's only 3 letters.
Six.
Oh, yours is shorter than mine, Dana.
Exactly, yeah. Will's got the long one.
He does.
Perfect.
any changes to the agenda?
Not for us tonight.
All good? Okay. And I guess we're open to public comment.
Stu, how are you? We're in public comment if you have any.
It might be a good time, yeah.
I was not here last month and just wanted to see what might be happening in this world of transition, the concept, anything going on. I did speak to Roger a few days ago after I got back from some travels.
I think we're waiting for the select board to reorganize and then figure out what the plan is.
Okay.
So that's where we're at. Nothing's really happened with the town meeting and
Is there an opportunity that it would be good for us to be in touch with David as town manager or
I think that's
select board or?
I think that's fine. My sense is they're still trying to figure out their priorities and, you know, and there's a wider discussion about dams writ large that Caspian is part of. And so I don't know where they're at with that yet. I think that they're still trying to figure out with new members what the priorities are. And if all you know different than me, please hop in, but that's where I think they are. So we're kind of just cooling our jets until we hear what they're thinking. And a couple other things about dams come into focus as well.
For you to know, we're kind of organized as a task force. John Schweitzer did talk to David a week or so ago, so they may be up to date. So we just met yesterday as a team. So we're looking at exploration, what's that going to take, and obviously a funding method to do that.
Perfect.
Anybody have any comments to the minutes from February 17th?
Yeah, you were both here for the agenda item, right? So you didn't want to speak during public comment. Just wanted to check
Oh,
Yeah,
before
that's
we
right.
go by it. Perfect. Thank you. Sorry, Mr. Chair.
Sorry.
Just wanted to check.
Any comments to the February 17th minutes?
My last name is misspelled in the second paragraph, K-O-C-H.
I know better.
And the other comment is, again, these are informative and thorough minutes. So thank you. It's a great change.
We will fix that. And
Not the first thing, not the second thing.
Yeah.
well, the second thing, Renee's going to take a shot at the minutes, so maybe, maybe not. We will make that change, and if one of you might be willing to sign just the signature page, I promise you we will make the change
No problem.
on that. And then attach, it can be anybody, but
Make a motion, we approve the minutes.
You gotta sign it.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
None. Penstock Engineering Contract Amendment.
we did make an error in the packet. The amendment is not for $89,000, it's actually for $12,000. The original was the number. So this is all related to the work to get things moving with FEMA and on the funding side of moving things forward on the penstock. So, you know, they've had to do additional work to keep going with the endless debates with FEMA. I mean, we're pretty close to an answer now. It's gone up to the higher ups, so staff have signed off on everything. So they have done and are continuing to do a lot of work. So I certainly recommend the amendment to authorize me to sign an amendment up to $12,000.
Okay. So yes, yeah, not the 89.
It's
or
not
whatever,
the,
sorry.
I pulled the wrong number off of the amendment document when I was writing. Apologies for that.
So we need a motion to approve up to $12,000 additional funding for
D&K.
D&K.
So move.
Any discussion? All in favor? Done. Appointment of VEPSA alternate board member.
As you'll see in the packet, Opie's been our alternate for whatever reason. I don't know if maybe you were interested or there just wasn't anybody else, so David got appointed to be the alternate. With Renee on, many of her peers are the alternate, and I was thinking that it would be a really good way for her to get to know the industry, to get to know her peers. I did go and ask Opie, like, are you invested in this? And he was like, I don't even know what to do there. Like, if you want to remove me. So it'll be your call. Renee's willing. I know she's already arranged to ride to the next meeting with one of her peers. So if you're willing, she's happy to become our alternate to VEPSA, but that's your call.
Great.
So two things, we have to take Opie off and put Renee on. So it's
Yeah, I
two
think you
parts.
can do that all in one motion, but, or you could do it in two, however you want.
Okay.
And functionally, is this in the event that you are unable to go, Scott? Is that going to be the default going forward? What are we looking at?
So I'm still there, I'm the primary, and I would still go. Many of the alternates go most of the time either in person or virtually, so that they have enough knowledge to step in if they have to.
Sounds like a
Have
great
to miss a
plan.
meeting. So, and it just, again, it gives her the chance to just get to know what's going on and within the other side of our house, which is that whole VEPSA side that you've all come to know.
Yep.
And that she has to learn.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody want to make the motion? Miles? Oh, Jake, it's your turn to make.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to appoint Renee as the alternate VEPSA representative.
Would you include in that removing David as the alternate?
And removing David Upson as the current alternate.
Perfect.
Okay.
We'll second that.
Any discussion? Did that, all in favor?
Right.
Welcome, Renee.
Thank you.
All right, Caspian Public Beach Clean Water Project.
So we got Will earlier and Dana Allen here. They'd asked, they've done this project and they had asked to come and present to you, so they're here to present. So I'm not going to say anything else because they're the ones that know what the heck they're talking about.
Yeah, where's a good place for me? We've got kind of a lot of different angles here, maybe just here, it's fine.
That's great.
Is he okay where he is?
Yeah, we're
You got
for you and the board. It's fine.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, great. So my name is Will Marlier. I'm the Lake Watershed Program Specialist for, here comes the really long name, Orleans County Natural Resource Conservation District. So first and foremost, I wanted to make sure that this was useful to you, because I know it's on your time. I did bring my computer and I have the designs, I could put them up. I'm sure Dana could screen share if that's helpful. I don't have like a formalized presentation. I could put up a presentation that we did as part of public outreach at the beginning of this project, and kind of show you what we did for the community forum. But whatever you're interested in, whatever you'd like to hear.
The screen share would be good, that way we can all see it instead of
Sure.
the computer.
Yeah.
And a general overview would be terrific.
Yep.
Do you have permissions, Dana, or do you need me to give you something?
Yeah, I did just check that. It looks like I'm good to go, so I can share that now. Can you all
do it?
Yep.
Great.
Yeah. So the background on this, since I think you have a few, maybe at least one new commissioner since the last time I was here.
2 new staff as
Two.
well.
Okay,
So-
great. So we came to you last year and asked for permission to apply for a clean water grant to design a clean water project for Caspian Beach, the purpose of which is to reduce runoff and phosphorus loading to the nearby surface water of Caspian Lake. And we just asked for the preliminary design portion of that project. So we rolled into that some public outreach. We did an event at the Highland Center for the Arts. We did some tabling down in Greensboro Bend and then here in Hardwick as well to try and get a sense from community members, how is the beach currently used, and what are things they want to make sure don't change about what's working well at it now, and then also things that maybe they would like to see changed that they don't think is working well at the moment. So we got a kind of broader sense of the recreation at the site, and I'm personally a Greensboro resident, so I have some personal experience there as well. But we thought it was really important to get some community feedback on that. So that was good. it wasn't all really closely tied to the idea that we're trying to reduce runoff, do some stormwater practices, and then also increase habitat for wildlife and pollinators where possible. But where those two did intermesh was, I think, where we got our most critical takeaways. So Dana took some of that information. Dana works for Fluid State Consulting, and he's the one that drafted these designs. I've been operating more as the project manager on this. And so he took that information and drafted the designs that we've shared with you seeing this and the ones that he has up on the screen now. And it's going to take us pretty close to that 30% preliminary stage of the design process, which will run out the grant that we currently have. So what we're really looking for today is feedback from you all in terms of where the designs are now, if you have any concerns, questions, or things that you'd like to see changed, and then also an idea of where you'd like the project to go forward from here, whether or not, I know there's some discussion about land ownership in the future for this parcel, whether or not you would like to move forward to a final or 100% design, if you should start considering implementation, because this is all publicly funded and we're trying to get as much, it's my job to bring the grant money in to make this happen. It's a slow moving process, so even if you were interested in moving forward to 100% design and implementation, that wouldn't likely happen until probably earliest fall of 27. If we went really fast, maybe spring of 27, but yeah.
Is 30% enough to get some sense of scale of cost?
That's a good question. Dana, did you end up putting together a cost analysis for this, or were you waiting on the feedback from tonight?
Yeah, we did actually. Let me quickly see if I can find that. Yeah, so we put together some prelim costs for this project. Again, just based on super rough unit costs. The Clean Water Fund of Vermont has kind of unit costs for these BMP types. So like things like shoreline restoration, riparian buffering, stormwater, impervious acres treated. So very rough costs, but we slapped those together. I was trying to make that a little bigger. Oh, hold on. Yeah, there we go, sorry. Playing with the annotation feature here. So we ended up somewhere, oh, I forgot to sum this, isn't that here? I did it elsewhere for you, Will. 60K is roughly where we ended for the BMPs kind of as installed. Again, super rough unit costs. And then in terms of the phosphorus removal, we did run through those calcs as well. And I think we ended up at about 1.15 kilograms of phosphorus removed per year. So a little, it's around 4.5 pounds essentially for these BMPs.
Right.
Hey Dana, for the layperson, what does that mean? Is that significant? Is that small? And maybe I have all experts on the commission, but what does that mean?
Yeah, good question. It's hard to really place it, but in terms of like projects with significant phosphorus removal, this is on the smaller side.
Yeah.
From like say a big stormwater project where you're capturing a lot of impervious acres, or like a big floodplain reconnection project where you're reconnecting a lot of floodplain acres. Because we're trying to keep this a light touch because it's such a highly used landscape here, we don't want to really get into altering it a ton. So, the basics of this design, if you'll bear with me kind of explaining things a little bit, we want to increase our riparian buffer over here. So bring this up to about 50 feet. That filters what little runoff comes off this lawn. That's just a general best practice. Same thing here, and 50 feet is really the minimum for water quality. So again, like pretty light touch, just protecting this stream center line. Over here, where a lot of runoff does end up off the parking lot, and snow gets plowed up in the wintertime. Rather than do anything big in this area, kind of keeping it a small, like we're calling it a filter berm with fire retention. So kind of like a rain garden with a big berm at the end of it to trap and filter water. And then really back here, we're looking at shoreline stabilization. You know, I think as you all know, like that beach has been, you know, sort of pushed back over time, whether it's because of waves or ice push or pedestrian traffic, you know, you've kind of got a lot of stuff going on there. Plus, this is where, you know, about half of the drainage from that parking lot ends up. So, you know, 5 pounds of phosphorus, not huge, but not insignificant. Definitely more than like some riparian buffer planting projects would potentially capture. So pretty decent. And then the only other thing I wanted to point out here, we have some access features to kind of keep the lawn a little bit fresher, if you will, I guess. Basically, so people can walk over it, you know, kind of trying to corral pedestrian traffic a little bit on the lawn to prevent some of that erosion. How much we're going to do that with just these walkways, you know, people walk where people want to walk, but it encourages it. And then the other thing we wanted to address, if we could, was sort of the boat access over here. It's just kind of gravel right now, so maybe stabilizing that with concrete, and then actually just using a little trench drain to capture runoff and try to filter out some of the sediment that comes off this parking lot in a stone swale. But again, recognizing that like we're right on the lake, it's a high use area, we've got to keep things pretty light touch, low footprint for them to work. So overall, not a bad project, really. You know, not a huge one, but for 60K and 5 pounds of phosphorus, we're like reasonably competitive in terms of the Clean Water Fund metric. Maybe a little bit expensive. Will, remind me, what are they putting it at now for pound of phosphorus removed with the new
Yeah, they typically, yeah, so I'd say that's all great information, and I'd follow up on that in a couple of ways. To directly answer the question about cost efficiency, they do typically aim for, with one grant mechanism, about like $30,000 per kilogram of phosphorus removed annually. So that's
So it'd be about 45 for 1.5.
right. But there are other funding mechanisms, and I probably wouldn't try to go through a formula grant, which is what we did for this first round. I would use an enhancement grant, which is more concerned with aspects like the co-benefits, so not just phosphorus reduction, but one of the reasons why this site was prioritized is because there are so many co-benefits. It's really public. There's a lot of people coming in and out of there. So even using this light touch that Dana is referring to, we're setting a really good example for the public to come in and see, okay, so this is why they did it, and this is how they did it. And if they start implementing that on their own properties, or if they're just thinking a little bit more critically about why is it important to keep nutrients from running into our surface waters, then, I mean, that's a mission successful. So, yeah, I think that we'll be able to get funding regardless of the source that it comes from. There are multiple avenues, and I'm confident in that.
Question I have for that public relations side, like you said, there's an advantage to folks seeing this in place. During implementation, would you be anticipating putting up signage or educational materials, like there's a kiosk there? And if so, I'd like to comment that it would be great to include Hardwick Electric, either our logo or some level of branding, just to ensure that we're seen as a partner in the project as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We have put up interpretive signage on projects like this before, so I think that it stands to reason that we'd like to for this one as well. But throughout that process, we can be in touch with your designated staff person to make sure that the language and the content is acceptable, and also that we're recognizing your partnership in it with a logo or something like that.
Great.
Yeah.
Another question I have is on like sedimentation. Sediment runoffs mentioned here, we focus mostly on phosphorus. Mm-hmm. Could you comment on the impact of sediment to the lake, and then also to the downstream waterway for the brook, and how, if any, impact that has on the on the dam or even downstream dams? And for context, this is on a small scale, but we have other situations where I think sediment is a big concern with dams and sediment loading, so this might be a good example. So,
sure. Yeah, I think that the impacts on this dam particularly will be absolutely minimal. We reached out to Ben Green with the DEC Dam Safety Program, and we got a really good idea of where exactly the layout would footprint of the dam is and how far we should make sure that any of our practices that we install are set back from it. I don't get the sense that really much, if at all, the sediment coming off of this parcel is impacting that dam, especially in the quantity that we're talking about. I think that when we talk about sedimentation, what's important to keep in mind is that not just phosphorus, but also other nutrients like nitrogen can be bound to the soil very often. So you're looking at both fines and then also the kind of sediment-bound nutrients that are running off with it. And this will be, addressing both what goes into Caspian directly and then also into Greensboro Brook. I'm sure Dana could. I doubt that he has split, how much is going which way with what practices.
No, and I haven't modeled any sediment runoff for this particular project. It's not huge. The shoreline stabilization will help with some sedimentation and loss to the lake, which obviously that can impact dam operations, in terms of impoundment, storage, and things like that. This project is pretty small in terms of that. Regardless, it helps. Notably, though, this project did come out of a larger effort within the Caspian watershed, where we are looking at a couple of tributaries that are, their sediment plumes have grown significantly over the years because of a variety of factors, channelization of streams and erosion of the banks and things like that. And that sediment, while yes, it ends up at the, outlet of the brooks there, the tributaries, ultimately will make its way down to these dams, reducing impoundment storage, fouling operations, plus on the way, just, impacting the stream ecosystem, essentially robbing it of oxygen at that sediment water interface. So, this one, not a huge impact, but some of the other projects we're looking at, hopefully we actually do start to sequester a meaningful amount of sediment within the stream channels themselves before they get to the lake. So sort of restoring more of that natural equilibrium that's been lost through channelization and development. So I don't know if that fully answered the question, but that's kind of the picture overall.
Thank you. That's a great overview of the concept.
Yeah, we've got some really great projects happening just within this watershed on Caspian that the entire purpose of the project is to hold sediment in those channels. As Dana was saying, we've got one on Cemetery Brook, which is really cool. We'll have that going in this year. It involves a series of, and I know this is slightly off topic, but if you're interested, it involves a series of 50+ in-stream structures that act like beaver dams to hold sediment as it collides with it and actually build the channel back up the bed of that channel. So yeah, we're definitely keeping things like that in mind.
Thank you.
Has the Hardwick Select Board received similar presentation?
No, we've not reached out to the Hardwick Select Board.
For most of the grants that you guys target for next steps and follow-up, if we get there, what kind of local match is usually required by the funders?
Any local match does make an application more competitive, but there's not typically a requirement of one. And I think that there's also an understanding of different landowners have different capacity.
Sure. Great.
It's my understanding that this department would not be interested in providing any kind of match, just because it's not actually providing services to your ratepayers.
That's right.
But
Right. That's where I think the previous comment comes into play, where the town may have interest if it was necessary to get the project to happen, and they could. Whereas we have a restriction on what we can use funds on. Whether they would or not, I don't know, but
Sure.
it may be that talking with the town manager to see if you could get time to make a similar presentation to them. And then, I'm not sensing any negative reaction to continuing to pursue this, so long as there's not funding necessary from us, so.
I would caution to proactively include the select board as we are a unit of the town, but this is property owned by the town of Hardwick. So ultimately the buck will stop with them. So just from a public relations and strategic standpoint, I would say bring them in.
sure. Yeah, I can definitely do that. And yeah, that has me thinking about, so the town owns the property, but your department owns the dam, or is you oversee the property on behalf of the town, or?
All of the above.
And it's more messy than that. We're a department of the town, so think of it that way, we're a sub-part of the town.
Yeah, I think that had been my intention
Yeah.
originally,
Good.
coming directly to you, is that,
Yep.
okay. But-
And there's been some turnover on the select board for this most recent election,
Okay,
so they may not be as up to speed on what's going on.
sure.
I don't think there's any reason to be concerned that there's any.
No.
It's only a matter of things go more smoothly when everybody's in the know.
Yeah, I can definitely get on board with being proactive about that. Appreciate that.
Yeah, they seem very proactive about this property,
Mhm.
in my experience.
Okay.
From what I'm seeing too, you did mention it, but I saw that the design limitation, it stops at the concrete kind of crossing to the more earth side of the dam. There, what we call part of the dam, you could probably debate, but it sounds like that's been of consideration, is that this project wouldn't be impacting the other side of the dam.
Right, yeah, that's true. And I thought that the parcel boundary was actually on the stream, so
That might be the
we'd
case,
have to
yeah.
speak with probably the town of Greensboro if we did want to do anything on that side of the dam.
I think it's two parcels, correct me if I'm wrong, it's two parcels owned by Hardwick.
Right.
Right, so there's a parcel boundary,
Okay,
but they're both the same owner, essentially.
okay, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure, Dana, that we had thought that any practices were necessary for installation on the other side of the dam. I mean, it's certainly less developed over there. And we
Yeah,
wouldn't want to do anything on the
Definitely
shoreline
not.
within that footprint either, so,
Great,
yeah.
comfortable with that.
well, sorry, I was just gonna mention, like, we did want to maintain access to the dam, obviously, so, you see that area coming off the parking lot that's essentially open, like, just keeping that area clear is important.
Did you have a question, Stu?
And more of a comment, being the water quality, lake protection chair for the Greensboro Association, I've had a role with getting this Lakewise program going in the last 4 years. Will and I last year did about 10 Lakewise assessments around the lake. That makes about 50 plus properties around the lake. You're another shoreline property owner amongst those 50 that had a Lakewise assessment done a few years ago, which led to this project. So I just wanted to say it's support to do this. I think it's great. We've had up in the northwest corner, the Cemetery Brook project is underway. We've had private property owners take their learnings and put it into effect by improving their waterfronts, by either expanding their riparian zone from the lake or doing runoff, which is what this is all about. So I'm just saying as a comment, this program is good, it's visible, it's state-backed, there's a lot of positives to it.
Thanks. Great, so then just in terms of how I'll follow up and what the next steps look like, I believe that we got Sarah to sign basically just a piece of paper stating that the landowner was interested in moving forward with 30%. Scott, can you be the signatory going forward? I'll go to the select board regardless.
I'll be happy to be the signatory. I want to hear from the town manager that they were good too.
Okay.
Then I'll be happy to be the signatory. I think that's what I'm hearing from you all.
Yeah, great. And so I can bundle the grant application to include final design and implementation at once, keeping in mind that we will keep you very much in the loop going forward. Once we get to final designs, before we even get to implementation, we'll bring it back to you for further comment, as well as the select board, and make sure that everyone's on board moving forward.
Perfect.
Great.
And just one comment before you leave, if you could get an email from him, so you could send this slide directly to him, and he'll upload that slide when you're talking,
Yeah.
rather than have that camera look at you and me, which you probably prefer like I do.
Sure. Everyone watching appreciates it.
Does that work for you? Perfect, thank you.
Hey Scott, since this isn't a dam project, I'm wondering if it should be shifted completely to town of Hardwick. I guess I defer to you on that, but
Yeah.
putting it out there as you coordinate with Opie.
Either way, it could either be
Yeah.
me or Opie, the town manager, that could sign for you. So we'll take our cue from him, but I think either way is fine. We'll see what we hear from the town.
Just because
They could be
this
your
doesn't,
signator, or we could.
at the end of the day, I think, you said it correctly, this doesn't impact our ratepayers or the dam for which we are responsible.
Yep.
So, personally, I think it's great. I think as a commission, I'm not sure this is our purview.
Okay, so going forward, I'll be in touch primarily with the select board and David Hudson.
And if for some reason David wants to kick it to me, that's fine. But I think the commissioner's right.
And if you need something, the deliverable for you guys have put some effort into getting here and being here now. So what you need is that indication from us that we're on board.
Yeah,
And you've got that. We're not dodging that.
yeah, got it, okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Perfect, thank you.
Info.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dana.
Finance report.
You're on.
Yeah.
I'm not doing the finance report.
He's-
Afraid, huh?
He warned me, he said I'd be in the hot seat this time. So yeah, I'll do a high level, overview, I think, but I just want to kind of preface this with, if there are things or items that you guys are particularly more interested in each meeting, or just high level, the key indicators should change, just let me know. I'm happy to alter what you want to talk about, or what you want to see every week. I did say to Scott a few weeks ago that I feel like I've had 6 years of undergrad, and analyzing financial statements is kind of a headache. So for you folks, I definitely don't want to change anything that's working really well, but if there are other visual summaries, or if there are other ways to deliver these finance measures, then
Right,
please
thank
let
you,
me know.
thank you.
Yeah, and I'm happy to
And
accommodate.
when we get together here like this, what's always great is to hear that additional color from you that isn't in the documents.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, yep,
Of
yep.
what's going on. And something
Yep.
like cash
Yes, I
is
know
a
that's
great
high
area,
level.
because you have some weird timing
Yep.
of when we pay BEPSA, when we get paid by our customers,
Yep.
when, so when we look at a month like this one and it says, okay, this is pretty good, our cash on hand went up, not down.
Yep.
And it went up by 55.
Yep.
Should we be feeling good about it, or is that because there was some odd thing in the month? Yeah. So that's the key, is that's the
Okay.
value of this meeting, and we
Yep.
can just
So
talk.
really cash is
Yeah.
what you.
I think what we've been doing, and correct me if you say
Yeah.
it differently,
Yeah.
because this predates you, most of this report, is we've been being more conservative about making sure we have cash,
Mhm.
because we didn't have a controller. So Karen and I have been more careful about making sure we have enough cash to keep up with what we must pay.
Yeah,
So that's why you see a little bit more there than Beth would have had there, or probably what she'll have there next month. As she gets more comfortable, I've been very clear with Renee, we were pretty cautious because we're not finance professionals.
right.
So you can be less cautious than we were because you actually know how to manage cash.
And let's be clear about this, what's really super important to us is that if you are doing your job and you're saying, look, I'm not gonna pay within terms, this supplier, this vendor, and that's gonna ease our situation on cash, we need to know about it.
Yep,
Because otherwise, we look at this and we say, we're okay.
it's not accurate,
But-
yeah,
Right,
yeah.
But
Yeah.
for that period, if you're running up
Yep.
obligations that
Yep.
we're gonna have to meet in a future period,
Yep.
God, we need to know that.
Yep, yep, absolutely, absolutely. And certainly still getting acclimated to all
Yeah.
those factors. This was my first week with within the accounts payable process and the procedure there.
Great.
Monitoring the cash levels and what Scott was
Yeah.
talking about, just, the comfort level there. And I will say, during that exercise, I was like, no, let's keep going. And it was definitely more of a conservative
Right.
approach, which I completely appreciate.
Yeah.
But I do think, as Scott has mentioned, there will be more strategies there as I continue to get more
Great.
familiar with. And I think the biggest thing there that I'm still trying to get my feet handled and sturdy with is just the timing of payments,
Yes.
billing.
Right.
When are good cash time, is there a different time where we could be posting ACHs and and then running AP and so just still trying to get familiar with that
Great.
process and strategy,
Great.
but definitely more to come there. And I'll be completely transparent when the time comes and
Good.
I have a process that I'm gonna go by.
Good.
I'll be sure to share that and make sure that you guys are on board.
And Scott knows this, and you do it therefore because you're talking to him every day. But, if something bad comes up during a month,
Yep.
the best policy, I think you'd agree, especially,
Scream.
is don't wait for the next meeting. Let Mike know at a minimum, maybe, and that can just be a phone call.
Yep.
But if it's something that deserves, it's complicated, so you gotta get something in writing.
Yep.
Get it out to all of us, and that's the way Scott works.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so just so you hear it
Yeah.
from us.
yeah,
No financial problem gets better with age.
yeah, I agree.
And
And
particularly
running away.
now
And
that
then
we're-
you've got us all on the boat with you. We all know about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we could even go to the point where, you're now meeting once a month. If it required a special meeting, because
Sure.
it's that important, we can
Yeah,
just call a special
absolutely.
meeting. We only need 3 again.
Absolutely.
Probably don't get 5 in the special, but we need 3.
Yeah.
Right? To
Yeah.
move something forward, so.
Yeah, we could wait for good news, don't let us wait.
Okay, all right, all right.
I don't let it wait for either.
I love psychic.
Yeah, no, it's-
So tell us somebody, this bad news, tell me ahead of time before the client
Yeah.
calls.
I would say though that things continue to be, stabilized with what we've been working in previous months. Nothing has come up that's been surprising. And I think we just continue to adapt to shifting, the management there and just, getting caught up on a few things.
Yeah.
But, one of my observations early on is that there's a lot of very competing priorities right now at the department. AMI is kicking off. We're still dealing with the FEMA and the hydro, and a lot of that impacts, our billing and our cash flow, and some of it not right now, but just that, financial planning.
But that's, if it's okay, that's one of the things that we're really eager to see done better.
Yep, yep.
And that is, we'd like to know every month, how are we doing independent of the projects?
Yep.
Just in our core basic business. We go out, we buy all this electricity, we get it out to our ratepayers, we do our normal maintenance, just the ongoing stuff, are we making ends meet?
Yep.
Is it working?
Yep, yep.
And then separately, and we really like you to think of ways to literally have separate pages, separate sheets
Okay,
that say,
okay.
and then we've got these 6, 8, or 10 projects going.
Yep.
And there's money coming in and there's money going out. Usually it's more going out than going in. And, we're borrowing money or we're getting grant money.
Yep.
And give us that picture separate.
Yep.
Because if you present it to us with it all mixed in,
How do
It
you,
doesn't
how
tell
do you
us anything.
digest it?
we
Yeah.
don't know how we're doing our projects, we don't know
Yeah.
how we're doing them.
Yeah, that's one of the first things that Scott and I had kind of talked about, is
Right.
just that financial transparency. And I kind of had said to him, like, how is your board interpreting all of these financial
Yeah.
statements? Like, because,
Just divide.
well, yeah.
And if you do a top sheet like you did with
Yep,
the cash
yep,
flow, just do
yep,
something that
yep.
says, here's the picture.
Yep, okay. Yeah, and please, as we move forward with changes like this, just let me know if something's working good
Great.
or terrible, or we're taking step backwards,
Great.
because I'm happy to adapt there and want to make sure that I'm communicating as transparent as possible through all of these things. Yep.
So a couple of moving parts I'd add, just so you know, some of the things that is on deck for Renee. One is, when we adopted the budget, I told you that we had to figure out that 35-tab spreadsheet of Beth's. So we did an interim budget that doesn't have a lot of capital dollars in it, doesn't really project if we need a rate increase, all those sorts of things. So there's that, so that's teed up for her. There's one of the uncertainties in this financial document that you have in front of you, which we've got to tee up, is we're not going to get the entire rate case we put together, right?
Yep.
So there's refunds, not really refunds, but it'll mean that people get credits on the bill, which means less cash flow,
Yeah,
right? And then third,
that's gonna be a big issue potentially.
right, and because there's a big long line for rate increases, like, we got in line with GUPSA to be positioned to do a next rate increase, knowing that the state decided to pound our last one and cut it more than in half, which is, that process is almost done, not quite. So we're teed up to begin a process in June,
Right.
but we need to have our audit done, we gotta have the budget updated, so we know known and measurables, and then we gotta be ready to start moving that forward. We gotta know what the refunds are gonna be from the last one, and then we can start, so she's got just a mountain teed up in
Yes.
front of her, just so you know.
Yeah.
And, you
Yeah.
know, and she's still trying to figure out Beth's spreadsheet, so.
Yeah, there's a lot of, annual
So,
reporting that has come up the pipeline. And so trying to catch up on those things, and just prioritize at different levels. So
Yeah.
like Scott said, but it's good.
It's a lot.
There's a lot that's coming up
We'll
and
get
I
there.
think it's important, yeah.
And the good news is, as you all know, Karen's really good,
Oh,
really
she's
capable.
fantastic,
So
yeah.
she's got someone to help her
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
work through it, so,
Yep,
Super.
yeah.
yep,
Well, thank you.
yeah.
That's a good start.
Anybody else, comments, questions?
Late payment from the high power costs you mentioned last month, those started to hit.
I didn't quite hear you. I'm sorry.
We had the high power costs from the cold snap. You'd mentioned that we were probably going to have to late pay for some of that.
Yep,
Are we seeing that reflected here?
a little bit. Yep, we're a little bit further behind than we were, on AP, including for power,
Okay.
for sure. We're probably another 100,000 up-ish. I don't have that number right off the top of my head, but when I looked at this week's AP that she was just talking about, it had definitely grown by around 100,000, which is about what we would have thought, based on that, with the timing of when, now in the next month, we should get paid for that, and power supply should be cheaper, and you should see that kind of work itself out, right?
Sorry.
No, please.
And if that is an area, specifically that you guys want to be focused in on in AP, definitely let me know. And I can also break that down into like power supply and, how much we've purchased. And so just let me know if that's an area that you really want to focus on at every board meeting.
The question stems more from the flag that Scott provided last month, and then as it pertains to what has been a somewhat precarious cash position for us month over month. So I think the crux of it for you is, how is our cash position? And if that is non-threatening at this moment, then that's my answer.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, the good news on the cash position, and correct me if you see it differently, is we do think now that we've navigated the process with the bond bank about the short-term borrowing for flood
Right.
costs,
So is that,
such that when the timing of when we're going to have to pay the bond bank, what principal we still owe them, will be after we actually get the money from FEMA. So, and we'll actually net to a positive because we had made some payments. So we're gonna, out of that process, we're gonna end up with a net cash position off of that. We didn't make profit on it, we already paid some of the principal. So that money
Put
went
you
out
in a better
in
shape.
2025, and so we're gonna get that money back, plus plenty to pay.
But then we've got a big hole coming up in a couple of
Correct,
months.
so it's not gonna make things
Yeah.
rosy, because the numbers aren't big enough for that, but it's at least gonna give a little more
Yeah,
cash in
cushion.
that mix,
Yeah,
right?
excellent.
To be working with.
Great.
So, are you okay? I didn't want to.
please.
The subject of closing the books on last year, closing basically the December.
Yep.
And how we're going to handle the accounts receivable, which we all agree is wildly overblown because of consolidating.
Yep.
So, the next step there was,
So you said that we should have a position with the auditor, which we have, which is that we want to write it off.
Yep.
And the auditor is likely pushing back on that sum.
Okay.
is what we're hearing. And then as I wrote in my report, in the GM report, we actually had a fairly good, we definitely got their attention. We probably will see at least a portion of that at some point.
What do you mean by that? Do you mean like 10%?
I don't know. I can't tell you that yet because we had a good first meeting and they were definitely not saying we're not paying anything. They're saying we were surprised, we need to have a conversation. So, you've been through enough of these to know how to read the tea leaves. So my tea leaves are we're going to see something and we're definitely not going to see it all. That's my tea leaves.
But that's a ridiculous ban.
It's a huge ban right now and that's as good as I can do.
And you know they're not going to give you 90%.
We're not going to have 90%. No, I don't
So
want
what
to.
I'm really
In open
nervous,
session, I don't want to talk about a specific number.
yeah, what I'm
That's
worried
fine.
about is closing the books on 25
Yep.
with a bogus accounts receivable.
Correct, and we've started that dialogue with the auditor. I think they definitely felt it was too soon in the aging of it to totally write it off. Am I right?
Yeah, and I would agree with that. I mean, it's just in the practice of it, I think.
Yeah, but the issue is not the aging, the
Right,
issue
it's-
is
I know.
Is it
the
legitimate?
counterparty says it's
Yeah.
not a legitimate charge, that we were just charging.
Yeah.
Correct.
You can't, that's fraud.
Correct.
You can't send out invoices. that-
Yes, to inflate your.
My sense is they thought
Yeah.
we should give it more time to see if we're going to get anything.
Yeah.
And that's,
So we don't have an answer on that yet.
but yeah, you gotta push that hard.
And
Because frankly, it's the conservative position to take. Why the hell the auditors would want us to have inflated, overstated revenues?
I do have an opinion of where I think we'll land, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it. in
Oh,
that
yeah.
session.
How many
But
days
you
old
got
is
the
the
whole
oldest
one.
oldest invoice? How
Oh.
far back do they go?
It's like over a year now.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like 400 days. Yeah, we just did an analysis last week and it was.
Just
Which-
under $500,000.
Well, you just write off anything over like 90 days or 100, you pick a time. You
Yeah.
know it's not coming.
Yeah,
And you write it off.
We heard you clearly and that's our position.
Yeah,
So,
yes, yeah, and it's, highlighted and we'll be sure to,
okay.
but they have not been on site yet, so we haven't gone
Okay.
deep with them.
yeah.
Renee passed along
Yeah.
the position. They pushed back a little bit,
Sure.
be on
And
site.
then there's room within some narrow band on the conservative level.
But not 300.
We don't want to whipsaw, we don't want
Yeah.
to like write it all
Nope.
off and then say, yippee, we got it now.
Correct.
Right.
That's right.
That doesn't look good.
How did we get them to the table this time? Because they didn't even want to talk to us, right?
Yeah, so the strategy I put in when I came back was rather than just continue to threaten them, they had, after 40 years of just working together and neither party even realizing there was a contract, and it was just like you talk to each other and this needs to get cut, we'll split the cost like always. They had decided that for whatever reason, and they've articulated to us some reasons why they did it, which is fine, that they were not going to pay because they were going to go back to the old contract and declare that we didn't follow the process from 1983, which nobody even knew existed. So what I did when I got here was said, okay, my experience with old contracts is if somebody pulls something out, there's other stuff in there that they wouldn't like.
Right.
And so we fired that back at them, which included them being responsible to cut half of our service territory when we asked them to, not us. We've always cut it all, and then they paid. But they're actually required to do the work in that contract. So we stopped cutting on their side, started sending them a list of everything that they had to cut. And oh, by the way, the contract requires you can only hire our pre-approved cutters. And they don't want to do that.
Right.
So that brought them to the table. They actually brought not only the people we always work with, but 4 layers up
Good.
in Fidium, including, we got a national VP at the table at Hardwick Electric. So it was a very
It
good
was a very
first
good
conversation.
Yeah.
Good.
No promises were made either way, but a good clearing of the air. We now understand what made them angry about that whole process.
Great.
And they understand that we can't keep doing their job for them for free.
Great.
So that was a good start. No guaranteed outcome, but a good start.
That's awesome. And you can see from this dialogue where you come in the future.
She was there.
Don't let us record in our books receivables that aren't going to be received,
Yep, yep,
right?
yep.
Yep.
Yeah, we've had several conversations
Yeah.
about
Okay,
how this
great.
entire thing played out, so.
Yep. So we'll go from there. But
Great.
Okay.
That's really great. I mean, that's real substantive progress.
Yeah.
The auditor thing, I just feel like the clock is ticking and they've actually got to.
yeah, that's going to come quick because at some point they're going to need to get in here and get our audit done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She has asked them for a date when they're coming.
Well, especially because you need it done for the rate case stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
Did we end up with the true-up number from the misbilled net metering for the solar?
Not yet, we're working on that. So that's being worked on. We've just filed all of our testimony with the state about how we're going to do that assessment. But we have to get approval now that they hammered us in a rate case for some reason about that. It's not really about a rate case. But we had to come to concurrence with them about the methodology under which we'll figure that out. We have a pretty good internal sense of how much per customer that's going to amount to. It's not much, despite what some people think. It's a very small amount of money. So we're doing a whole lot of process about a very small amount of money. And we made a mistake and we should make it right with customers. So all of them are true, right? All pieces of it are true. And then we're working with our software vendor on the finance side to be able to automate the calculation. We think we might be able to actually automate it and not have to do every single calculation by hand.
Good.
So Meridian is working closely with us to get that done. I don't think you've been totally caught up on all that yet, so that's why I mentioned.
Yeah, yeah, no, I looked at you, because,
So-
thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yep,
Super.
General Manager's report?
yep. Is there, I don't know, I had a bunch of stuff in here. I don't know if there's pieces. I did say in here that I would update you on the utility health assessment meeting we had, which was the state meeting that all utilities are now having. So I had Renee sit in with me yesterday on that meeting. And I'd say it was very productive. At least, I would say the state is really just trying to understand what the hell's going on at utilities and are there issues like Hyde Park. They're curious about why we've lost 2 managers in a short period of time. And I think with every utility, the state has started a management audit of Burlington Electric, and they even remember, whatever it was 15 or 20 years ago when we had embezzlement here, and there's been this whole continuum over time. It seems like everybody takes their turn with an issue, and so they're trying to get at both what's the current health, what issues are people facing, what's consistent through it, so are there kind of commonalities, and then what can become best practices for utilities, and maybe what can the state change. So it also gave utilities, at least the way I've approached it, is it gives us a chance to say things like, this is just one example, your rate-making case was really thoughtful and good about 40 years ago when there were 2 generation sources in the state and in New England, and customers didn't have anything on their roofs, and things didn't change minute by minute. Looking entirely backwards was an okay way to set rates. You don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but we now every year are told we have to invest going forward, but somehow we have to front that money while we look backwards in terms of how rates are meant, so we're always lagging, right? So there's 3 or 4 things like that so the state can do some reform out of this too. We definitely have stuff to get better on. Every utility does, and that's always my approach. Every business does, right? And so there's a good exchange both ways. We'll see what comes out of it. I don't know. Maybe at the end there'll be some sort of let's play gotcha with people. My view of these things is I like management audits. I like bringing in fresh sets of eyes to take a look at what's going on and tell me how to do things better. So I always look at these things as incredibly proactive, and occasionally you get somebody that wants to play gotcha at the end, and then you feel like an idiot for being so transparent. But we'll take them at their word that's transparent and about getting better, and then we'll do that, and hopefully they will too.
That's great.
Yeah, so it was a good process. I don't know, do you have anything to add to that? You said it.
Yeah, no, I thought it was very productive, and we had a lot of good, constructive conversation. I think one thing that I took away from it is just the planning, the future planning and risk planning, capital planning, even vegetation maintenance came in quite a bit. And so I think that's going to be something that we will really try to focus on in-house and be more organized and transparent with what the direction we're going in, even if it's a year or 2 or 3 years down the road. But yeah, lots of good dialogue happened.
The other piece from my report, which maybe in the future will be in the finance report, but I talked about the Meridian discussion that Renee and I had, and I want to make sure that I've read the vibe of the commission correctly. So they do have, as part of their enterprise suite, I don't have a price yet. I'm getting a price, but I want to make sure it's worth the effort. Up a portal for communications with customers, whether that be text message, email. My sense coming back in this second time is that I've heard through the grapevine that that's something the commission is interested in, being able to better communicate with customers. And I don't know what that's going to cost yet, and so there's a price at which we wouldn't do it. And if it is something you're generally interested in, I'm happy to bring a proposal here once I get it from them. I just wanted to make sure that I'm not running a fool's errand. I haven't heard it from you since I got back, but I definitely heard it through the grapevine from Beth and maybe Karen that it was something they thought that the commission was interested in.
Well, it's tricky because I think we're super conscious that we're a bit backwards. Mm-hmm. But we're also conscious that we're small and we're under-resourced, and right at this moment, because of the rate case being sliced, we don't have money to spend. So the trick is, would we like to have incredible customer portals with real-time visibility and all that? Yeah, but are we in a position to make people pay more for their power to have it? And that's where the rubber meets the road. And I don't know. So for me, that I'm making a statement for myself that I'm just.
That's what I'm asking.
I'm sort of, no, I don't have a hell bent for election feeling like we need gee whiz stuff if it costs more. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like we're already dealing with a bunch of things lined up that cost more, and lining one more cost more thing on top isn't good. And I kind of have a little fatalistic view that because we're small and because we're pined, once we do it, it's going to be kind of not as good as everybody else anyway, which isn't fair.
Yeah. I think it's something we should maybe wait and consider later.
Yeah. Yeah, I think...
I mean, for the time being, just what you're saying, Roger, is, yes, let's get our feet on the floor first here.
And my sense is that we have a lot of room to improve around customer communications. My instinct is that does not stem from a software deficiency. I think the town has what seems like an operational and effective text message platform. I don't know if we can use that.
Okay.
Facebook, Instagram, our website, the Gazette. These are just existing mediums that I think would be low or no cost that I would hope that we could exhaust before we start spending more on a new solution.
And is there, what do you think? Are there two levels too? There's the level of how many kilowatt hours did I use? What did I pay? Can I see my bill online? Can I pay it? Can I do, things? Or is it about, holy cow, my power's out?
I think it's
what's going on.
My sense is it's more the latter, but we're actively investing in AMI, which, correct me if I'm wrong, is more of the former, with what's my bill doing dynamically, how much power am I using? So it feels like we're already pursuing that.
Yeah.
But we just because we're not trying to be upsold by Meridian, I think I would love it if we could hear about some progress on the customer communication front through other channels.
Yeah, probably any of those new programs, it's easy. Oh, it's $10. By the time you get someone trained on it to do it, you spend another $30.
Yep.
In the office.
And there's not enough staff to do it, so.
Implementation.
Yeah, so you bought it, you can't use it.
Good. Oh, that's very helpful.
Yeah. See about the town, I think I was going to mention the town text message alert.
We'll check.
It's
I'll
working
check in.
well. It really is.
I love that.
Yep. For construction, water,
Yep.
disruptions, it really works well.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll check in on
Where
that.
it's like, it's Hardwick if there's a power outage and everyone gets the text instead of it being targeted at your specific neighborhood.
Yeah. I mean, the only
No
trick
one
with
cares.
that is, we serve 11 towns.
Mhm.
Or
True,
whatever it is.
absolutely, yeah.
11, right?
Yeah.
Forget.
What's that?
How many, I don't even remember, it's
It's
something
11.
like 11.
Yeah.
Just using, yeah, using
So-
the
Does
existing-
Morrisville have some portal or something
Not
that's just
today.
light years ahead of us?
No, we'll have it, we're actually pivoting our enterprise system to a platform called NISC. And once we do that, that'll be our finance system, our customer information system, our GIS system, our outage management system, our workflow system, it'll be everything. And it has a communications piece in it. So that it'll all, and AMI will talk to it. So that's how even the customer portal will be built into that.
And are there others within VEPSA doing likewise, or are you the leading?
Almost everybody's moving towards NISC.
Okay.
So why
So-
are we
so
renewing?
Why
Sorry,
would
Roger.
Yeah.
Only
yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's a timing issue, so, we actually, in order to implement AMI, you
Gotta
have to be able to integrate to the
With
current system,
Mhm.
and it takes at least 2 years to line up these
Okay.
transitions to new systems. So that's why we went with the minimum. That's why we asked them for a price. 2 years basically gets us up and running, and then the integration with NISC will already have been built by 12 other people, so pivoting to that will be almost no cost to integrate that.
That sounds like the plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's
That's
nothing,
the whole benefit
And by the
of
way,
having
there's-
you straddling
right,
both.
there's no problem with Meridian, it's a very good system. My bias towards the likelihood that we would pivot is why do we want to be a one-off in Vermont that no one on our team has anybody to talk to?
Yeah.
It's not even all the munis that are going to it. DEC uses it, Stowe uses it, almost, GMP does not. They use a big, huge monster enterprise system, right? Because they're different. But almost everybody else, I think WEC uses it. Like almost everybody else has used the same thing. And then like her peers, they all talk 14 times a week about how do we fix this and this, and what do we do with this?
Yep.
And she'll be sitting here all
An
alone.
oddball.
There's nothing wrong with Meridian. I want to be really clear about that.
Yeah.
That's compelling.
It also sounds like Meridian is about to lose an account, so hopefully that will make them hungry and
Yep.
they will want to preserve us
Yep.
for more than 2 years. And
Yep. And we were very blunt with them that there are talks like operating agreements and merger and how do we have a big enough, team to have these conversations for support. So we were very blunt about why we were thinking about 2 instead of 6 or 7. So they heard what's on our mind.
Great.
Just so you know that.
Is the bucket truck still 2 weeks away?
Seems to always be 2 weeks away, Mr. Chair. The challenge this time was that the bucket truck got built with the wrong driver's seat in it. It was not an air seat.
Right.
And the original spec was very clear. And then we actually did an addition to make the passenger seat an air seat. And then for some reason, they put the air seat into the passenger seat and didn't put one into the driver's seat.
what's the word you're using? An error? seat?
Air.
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 Okay.
So basically, the driver floats.
Nice.
It's a very comfortable seat.
You can adjust them. That's your suspension.
When you're going down a rattle trap road with a
Yeah.
big heavy truck, it makes your day a lot better.
Absolutely.
So that's what held it up. That's why it's not
When
here.
it gets it, we break a bottle of champagne over it and have a party.
Yeah.
Then it might break and we won't have a
Try it
truck.
back in.
Anywho,
Is it too early to talk about pharmacy? Too early to talk about pharmacy?
No, great question,
not
Michael.
in this setting.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Anything else?
I'm just executive session when you're ready.
Well, this may be appropriate for later conversations, but we've been mentioning and talking about the dams a lot, and we have the dams with the select board. I'm hoping to see that meeting scheduled soon, unless I missed
The
something.
Jackson Dam meeting the joint Jackson
Great.
one is scheduled.
Okay, I
I
just
think it's
need
the
to,
26th,
okay,
whatever that
fantastic.
Thursday is.
So, that's great, and we're looking at the big picture. I wanted to ask formally that we're currently self-insured for all of our dams, correct?
Correct.
Make that really clear. So if anything, our responsibility, if anything goes wrong with any of our dams, that's falling back on us.
Correct.
And we're in the position where that could be an unexpected expense.
Correct.
Okay.
We and basically everybody in the state. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
All right, I don't have anything really specific other than I want to see like progress towards
Yep.
taking action on these. I know there's a lot of stakeholders. but-
We have some to report in executive session.
Great.
That's all legal mumbo jumbo stuff, so.
Perfect. Great.
All right, so make a motion, we go into executive session on the VSA 313A1, A and F, and A3. Talk about contracts, attorney-client privilege, and personnel. Premature disclosure be detrimental to Hardwick Electric, and would like to go into executive session.
Do you have a second?
Seconded?
Okay, all in favor?
And record the time we go in?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. I didn't know.